Hi, and welcome back to Elevate with Elisheva, where personal development and spirituality merge for optimal growth. In today's episode, I will be talking about surrendering and being a perfectionist. Being a perfectionist is something that I've personally been struggling with for a few years, and I am ready to just share everything that has helped me recognize this behavior and how it impacted me, and hopefully this will be things that you can learn from too. And it's something that I was considering talking about today because it really ties in with the energy of right now in the Hebrew month of Adar. If you aren't familiar with the Hebrew month Adar, then I highly suggest you check back an episode and watch or listen to the podcast episode on Spotify. The Hebrew month of Adar, we celebrate Purim, just as a recap, and in this process, the Jewish nation, there's a victory. The Jews are standing up against evil, and that is something that is extremely special because in our history, most of the time, we are not standing up against evil and we're just taking it. And in this process, I have really been learning of what is my own inner opponent? What is this voice inside my head that doesn't want the best for me, that actually holds me back? And it sort of sabotages the success that I want. And it's this belief that's in my head that no, I will never be good enough. What I produce equals my value. And it causes a lot of setbacks in my life. And this is something that I want to share with you because maybe this can help you as well. And this really ties into surrendering. I found myself holding on to the outcome. And this is really perfectionism. If we look at the definition of perfectionist, that means that it's a personality, that someone is always striving for flawlessness, that they're fixated on the imperfections, trying to control situations, working hard, and being critical of themselves and others. And being critical on myself has been detrimental. That being critical has been, in any way to put it, for me, it has been the cause of much pain in my life, because not only was I critical towards myself, that criticism manifested in relationships with many people. Because I could not accept myself and the mistakes that I made, I saw every flaw in every person, no matter what kind of action they did or kind of word that they said to me. I was criticizing them for the smallest of things. I did not know how to accept my own humanness, and especially the humanness of another person. And that is where my perfectionism had really started to control my outlook and my perspective in life. And it created a system in my head that equaled, okay, my value, my worth equals what I create. And I would be so tied on the smallest of details that no matter how much I tried and the effort I put in, if the outcome was less than perfect, then it didn't matter the effort that I put in. And that really halted me. It halted my growth, my creativity, and like I said, it was really difficult in relationships. And I started to notice this self-sabotaging pattern in my life when it was about 3 to 4 years ago. I really started to recognize it, but struggling with perfectionism is something that I've been holding on to for about pretty much for around 6 years. And but I was only conscious of it about 4 years ago, when I noticed how much it was like I was dishonoring my growth. It didn't matter how hard I tried. If I did not get that ideal outcome, if I was not where I thought I needed to be, then literally nothing mattered. And that is really toxic to you and to any person in your life. And I carried that with me. I carried this feeling of low self-worth, this feeling that I didn't matter and I had no value for myself for many years because I was not perfect. And I created this idea of what it means to be perfect. And anything less than that was just, it was awful. And so going back to this self-sabotaging, recognizing and becoming aware of when the perfectionism or this idea of perfectionism is surfacing, because it can be useful to know that the process, I really need, like in the past winter months, like I've been really focusing on the process, really trusting the process in a way of the outcome will be what it will be, but I can do everything in my power to give it the best that I can. And the rest is up to God. And I learned something very special, that rather than trusting the process, trust God in the process. Go directly to the source. It's really easy and nice to say, yes, I'm trusting the process, but take it a step deeper and trust God is there supporting you, protecting you, and giving you guidance every step of the way in the process. So you're not trusting the process, you're actually trusting God in the process. That every setback is rather could be a redirection or just allowing you to pause. A very important Kabbalistic tool that has helped me thrive and grow my awareness is the concept of pausing. When we pause, it allows light to enter. And if you're always going at a really fast pace and it's really, really intense for you and you're unsure where you're going, it could be you're not pausing enough. And that can cause a lot of mistakes. And you have to really go through the mistakes and in order to, sort of like restart yourself. So pausing when I recognize, okay, I'm really focused on the outcome. And what does that do? It actually steals the potential in the present. If you're able to notice in the moment, I am focusing way too much on the end result, then you are limiting yourself, that potential that you have in that present moment to actually elevate and transform that present moment to something better, hopefully for the better, that is. And these are patterns that we're able to recognize. And that's the whole point. We are here to transform these patterns. If you want to go above your nature, you first have to understand your nature, understand the way you operate, understand the way that you are on a deeper level, and discover these things. At the end of the day, you're also rediscovering the source of your actions and this programming. So that has been an incredible tool for me to recognize myself in these situations. And as we begin now to shift to spring energy, it's only a few more weeks, about 2 or 3 weeks until Pesach, the holiday Passover, where the Jews, which actually marks the start of the Jewish nation as we leave slavery in Mitzrayim, in Egypt. It's a great time to reflect on freedom. What is freedom for you? And this is something that I'll get into a little bit in another podcast episode. But for today, I just want you to start exercising this idea of the personal inner opponents that you may have that's actually really holding you back from achieving such great results. Even if it's in the process is really where the growth, the faith, the love actually happens. And the inner critic, we all have that voice, holds you back. It says that it's not good enough, you can do better. What else does it say? It's trying to control you. And when we are allowing this voice to control you, then you're really not living. You're falling into, it's a choice. At the moment, maybe it doesn't feel like it's a choice, but it's actually a choice to what you listen to, which thoughts you choose to exercise. And something that has really helped me was radical forgiveness. Healing from perfectionism was also surrendering to the moment, really surrendering and having full acceptance of myself in every moment, knowing that I am human. And it all started when I wanted to fully love and accept myself. And that's even in the toughest of moments. It's easy to love yourself for the things that you love about yourself. It's easy to love, when you're being positive, but the true love happens when you fully accept yourself for the things that you're not really proud of. Those really dark points within yourself that you don't want to reveal to anyone, even to yourself. But those are still parts of you that actually deserve your love the most. And that is really healing your relationship with self, or healing those dark places and loving them, showing them light and bringing them into light. So that really connects to the energy of Adar, where we're going down, where we're going down into the parts of ourselves that those are really dark, and extracting them and bringing them into the light. And radical self-love, radical self-forgiveness has been my medicine for all these years, because it's recognizing that yes, you are human, and yes, you may make mistakes, but at the end of the day, it's what you label them to be. If you're labeling this as a failure, or as a mistake, okay, then that's how you see it. But that's why it's so important to have your own definition of what is success. And it looks different for everyone. So even if you're successful and your friend is successful in their own way, like, that's the beauty of having a diverse world. And it's incredible to know that everyone is an individual, that things change and it's diverse. So you really become the co-creator. When I say co-creator, it's like you're creating with God, with source, with this energy to understand what is success. And it's very personal. What I define success can be very, very different from you, and vice versa. So by healing perfectionism, it has allowed me to accept the human in the other person. Why and how? Because I learned to accept myself all the time. I'll give you an example. Over Purim, I decided to bake hamantashen, the cookies for Purim. And it was such a process, and I really enjoyed it. But the end result was not anywhere to what I wanted them to be. They completely exploded, and I didn't close the cookies tight enough, so they just became round circles with jam in the middle. And I was feeling pretty defeated. That's not at all what I wanted. And I took a bite, and I was like, okay, wow, these taste pretty good. I added orange peel into the batter of the batzek, of the batter for the cookie, and it tasted amazing. And I had an amazing time just creating in the kitchen. And in the beginning, I was so tough on myself. I was having this moment that, like, wow, these cookies are not worthy. I'm not worthy because I created something less than perfect. And I caught that. My unconscious mind, that inner critic, was just talking to me and defining this moment for me. And that moment, I noticed that, and I said, hey, that's not true. They taste amazing. These cookies taste amazing. And I radically forgave myself for that moment where I was speaking down to myself. That's where forgiveness really comes in, is recognizing, okay, you're doing something that you don't really accept or approve of, and you're going to forgive yourself anyways, because you are just worthy of forgiveness. You are just worthy of love, and you're human, and your presence here is enough. So yeah, you're still worthy of all this forgiveness, no matter the result that you produced. And practicing over and over and over again radical self-forgiveness allowed me to be doing this right now, talking on this podcast episode, and having fun along the way, which changed all the perspective. You know, we try to control the situations. If you are a perfectionist, or you know someone that might be or recovering, you know, then you'll notice that you're trying to control the situation. That's a lot of work. That takes a lot of energy to control a situation. And I learned that along the way, when I was trying to control the situation, but also people, my energy was being stolen. I was so caught up with the situation or the person that I was denying my own needs. I thought I was doing them the favor by controlling them, because I knew exactly what they needed. And I would try my best to create such a perfect situation that the essence, that God's help essentially, was disappearing. And that's when I was creating my own frustration. I was the source of my problems. And that took a lot for me to realize that I was being the source of my own problems. A lot of times it's easier to blame the other person or blame the situation or the circumstance. But when you take radical accountability for your life, you understand that you are also the source of your problems. That if your life is not how you want it to be, then it could be not the person over there or the circumstance that you're in. It could be that you are creating that circumstance. And the moment when I digested that and absorbed it, I, was being really hard on myself. But then I learned to love myself radically, because it's in those moments where you're feeling so low and so down that you need your love the most. So I chose love over and over and over again. Yes, it's easier to be in the negative, but it's much more rewarding to choose love and light. And the more that I recognize that I'm just trying to control someone, I'm projecting, I'm just, because I feel that I'm not in control of my life, I'm trying to control their life or the situation. And I was learning Kabbalah, and I asked this question: why does it feel like I'm not in control? And the answer, it was because I'm trying to control the situation way too much, and God's hand, God's light is not able to help me through the process. Again, we trust in God in the process, that we are trusting in God to create, we're trusting in God's plan basically in the process. The process will be what it is, but that process is because God is allowing that process to happen. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, I need to take a step back. I am doing the most that I can. And when we do that, we're creating this energy that, that shows Hashem, that shows the God that we're serious. And then God takes the second step for you. You take one step, you put in the effort, God will do the same, and he will match that. It's this beautiful dance of communication between you do this, and because at the end of the day, God helps those that help themselves. And that's really what's important here is to notice that if you are, holding on to something like on the neck, even if it's in a relationship, if you're suffocating the person, then they don't want to help you. So that's a very big point, a note to make and to recognize. And with that, I'm grateful to really wrap this up and, allow these points and trusting God in the process, identifying when you're being really hard on yourself and inviting radical self-love and self-forgiveness to support you in the process. And your value is not based on what you produced. You are valuable and worthy because you just are. You are. So allow that to really sink in and release the control so that God can come in and take that second step for you and really allow that to uplift you and elevate you, that you know that you don't have to control everything. You can control what you can within yourself. And that's really the transformation from within. And allow this to be a reminder. So until next time, thank you so much for tuning in to Elevate with Elisheva. And be sure to subscribe and share if you found any of this meaningful and if you know anyone that can benefit from this wisdom. Have a nice day.